courtroom buzzed with anticipation. The air was thick with tension, every person in attendance aware that today's proceedings were not going to be ordinary. In one corner of the room sat J.D. Vance, an unlikely figure in the legal world, a man who had transitioned from his rural Ohio roots to become an influential voice in American politics. J.D. Vance had managed to turn heads both as an author and a controversial political commentator. Today, however, he was here in a much different role. Defendant. It all began with a routine legal matter. A fine had been levied against J.D. Vance for a supposed violation of some obscure law that no one outside of legal circles had ever heard of. The charge was insignificant in the grand scheme of things, but it had sent shockwaves through the legal community. J.D. Vance, of all people, in a courtroom under the microscope of a judge's gavel. As he sat in the defendant's chair, his face remained stoic. He had faced adversity before, most notably when his memoir, Hillbilly Elegy, became a bestseller and was later adapted into a film. That success had brought him both praise and scorn, but Vance had learned how to navigate the complexities of public opinion. This, however, was an entirely different beast. The judge, a seasoned legal veteran with decades of experience on the bench, looked at Vance with a mix of disdain and amusement. Judge Harper had seen many people in his courtroom, from corporate giants to petty criminals, but J.D. Vance was different. His name alone carried weight. It wasn't just his book that had made him a household name, it was his outspoken views on everything from social issues to politics. The judge was certain that this was just another show of arrogance, a rich politician who thought he could walk through life without consequence. "Mr. Vance," the judge began, his voice booming in the quiet courtroom, "you stand accused of violating the Public Safety Act. You've been fined $10,000 for this breach. How do you plead?" J.D. Vance stood up, his calm demeanor never wavering. He adjusted his tie and looked the judge square in the eye. "I plead not guilty, Your Honor," he said, his voice steady and clear, "and I intend to challenge this fine." The judge narrowed his eyes. "Challenge it, you say? And how do you plan to do that, Mr. Vance? You've been issued a fine in accordance with the law. There is no room for interpretation here." Vance smiled, a slight but confident smirk that betrayed his quiet confidence. "Well, Your Honor," he began, "I've spent a fair amount of time studying the Public Safety Act, and with all due respect, the interpretation of the law as it stands is flawed. I intend to prove that." The courtroom was silent, the murmurs of the spectators silenced by the audacity of Vance's statement. The judge, a man used to holding power in his courtroom, was not easily rattled, but there was something about Vance's demeanor that intrigued him. "Very well," Judge Harper said, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "You wish to challenge the fine. I'll humor you. Go ahead, Mr. Vance. Present your case." Vance took a deep breath, stepping forward to the podium. He was no stranger to public speaking, but this was different. The stakes were higher. He was not just defending his name. He was about to expose a fundamental flaw in the legal system. With precision, Vance began to explain the nuances of the Public Safety Act, citing sections of the law that the prosecution had overlooked, weaving together case law and legal precedent to build a compelling argument. His knowledge of legal theory was nothing short of impressive. He spoke with the confidence of someone who had spent years studying the intricacies of the law. And as he spoke, the courtroom grew quieter, the judge's expression shifting from skepticism to something resembling interest. "Your Honor," Vance continued, "the law is not as black and white as it may seem. There are interpretations and applications that can vary based on context, and in this case, the context is everything. The fine issued against me is based on a misapplication of the law, one that fails to consider the intent behind the violation and the circumstances under which it occurred." As Vance spoke, the judge leaned forward, his fingers steepled in thought. This was not the brash political figure he had expected. This was a man who understood the law at a level that few could claim to. J.D. Vance was not just challenging the fine, he was deconstructing it piece by piece. The prosecutor, who had initially appeared smug and confident, began to shift uncomfortably in their seat. They had underestimated Vance, thinking he was just another celebrity politician with no real understanding of the law. But Vance was proving them wrong in real time. "Your Honor," Vance concluded, "I request that the fine be revoked, and that a thorough review of the Public Safety Act be conducted to ensure that no other individuals are subjected to the same unjust treatment." The courtroom was still. The judge sat back in his chair, his fingers drumming on the armrest as he processed what he had just heard. For the first time in a long while, he was unsure of how to proceed. The law was supposed to be clear-cut, but Vance had forced him to confront the nuances that often went unnoticed. After what seemed like an eternity, Judge Harper spoke. "Mr. Vance," he said, his voice softer than it had been before, "I will take your arguments under advisement. The court will reconvene tomorrow to deliver its ruling." The gavel came down with a resounding thud, and J.D. Vance walked out of the courtroom, not with the arrogance of someone who expected to win, but with the quiet satisfaction of a man who had just shown the world that he was more than just a political figure. He was a legal genius. The following day, the courtroom reconvened and the tension was palpable. The judge's decision was awaited with bated breath, not just by Vance, but by everyone in the room. When the ruling finally came, it was nothing short of a shock. After reviewing the arguments presented by Mr. Vance, Judge Harper began. "And, considering the points raised regarding the interpretation of the law, the court finds that the fine was issued in error. It is hereby revoked. Moreover, I am recommending a full review of the Public Safety Act to address the issues highlighted today." The courtroom erupted in stunned silence before murmurs of approval spread like wildfire. J.D. Vance had done the impossible. He had not only challenged the legal system, but he had also won. As he walked out of the courtroom, a sense of triumph washed over him. This victory wasn't just about the fine, it was a statement. J.D. Vance had proven that no matter how entrenched the system may be, with the right knowledge and determination, it could always be challenged. J.D. Vance's victory in the courtroom is a reminder that knowledge is power, and that the fight for justice often requires more than just strength, but a deep understanding of the laws that govern us. If you were inspired by his legal genius, like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and comment below on your thoughts about the case. Don't forget to subscribe for more incredible stories of resilience, wit,